Live from Telemundo. It's the weekly DLC. It's the weekly DLC.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Weekly DLC. This is the summer edition. I'm one of your hosts, Kurosh, joined always by my co-hosts, Daniel Vargas.
Goal.
And Daniel Jang.
Hello.
And if you're not familiar with what we do, we come to you every week at a table of some kind. And we sit around a table, we have some fun, nerdy topics, usually pop culture. And we each come up with a topic of our own. And we have some fun discussions. We hope you enjoy watching it. It's a pleasant day in SoCal right now. How you guys been?
We're not in SoCal. We're somewhere far away.
We're
on the moon.
Yeah. SoCal, Argentina.
I've been good, actually. There's surprisingly this week, lots been going down. I watched Incredibles 2.
Me too.
Has a lot of strobe light effect.
They warned us before
Very
we saw it. Did you go at your ticket booth? They
didn't verbally warn us.
There was
was a sign like when you're buying your ticket, like please be aware of the Disney movie Incredibles that has a strobe light effect. The thing is, like I thought, like that's just a nice way to tell you, like, hey, there's gonna be like it was pretty fucking bad, dude. Like,
really?
I feel like they have to like emphasize more, like it is full screen. Like,
do you remember what
I forgot
kids epilepsy from a strobe light effect?
Pokemon. Yeah,
Porygon episode.
It was like it is that bad. I think like where they're gonna have.
But it's not a full episode's worth of it. It was that intensity,
Yeah.
but like for maybe 30 seconds,
this
a
was like
varying degree.
12 seconds
What?
of full on action. So
You watched a different
Incredibles.
movie.
I really liked it.
I enjoyed the family
It's not
aspect.
about you. It's about me right now.
Okay, sure. Sorry.
No, go for it.
No.
What
No, I
is-
enjoyed the family aspect much more.
Mhm.
Like it built on everything. But I felt like villain-wise, I much more preferred what they brought. Or antagonist-wise, I enjoyed the first one's
Gotcha.
antagonist more. But I was like, not
I know that in
disappointed.
this first one or the second one, I had called it. Like I even I took my little sister, the little one, and I like whispered in her ear, I'm like, it's this person.
She sees dead people.
And she's like, what? I'm like, you'll get it. And then later
Pass
I'm
the
like,
popcorn.
called in. She's like, and then, okay, so we watched Incredibles. I got a tattoo.
Hey, congrats,
very,
dude.
very exciting. I'm very happy with the outlook, and it'll probably be a thumbnail. Is what you were
You'll
saying?
see it on the podcast
Somewhere.
thumbnail if you go to the YouTube for the weekly DLC. If not, then check you out on social media.
check me out.
So they say getting a tattoo is like getting a constant bee sting. Is that
Oh
true?
yeah, that's right. You had that question outside of the podcast.
What are you talking about? This is
What
just
question? We don't talk to
We
each other
live
before the
outside of the
podcast. That's
Um,
weird.
I would say, I feel like a bee sting would be more powerful because there's like venom involved. So it was like, bee sting is 11. This was
Okay.
a 9,
Ooh,
Like
still
that.
pretty.
But it's constant.
still pretty.
and it's
Right.
constant. You get used
Or it's
to
like,
it, though.
oh, okay.
You get used to it. But there are moments where like he'll go over like a certain area. So my original idea was to get it I got it on the side of my leg. Originally I was going to get it on my calf, which is the back of the leg.
Mm-hmm. But you're like, I want to see this too.
Well, no, actually, the whole time I was like the back of my leg, and the guy comes up, he's like, "Is your first tattoo?" I'm like, "Yeah," and he's like, "I think you should put it on the side. It'll be more visible to you." And I'm like, "Back of my leg," and he's like, "If it's your first one, that's a tender area. It's gonna hurt more than an average tattoo." And then like as he positioned it, like he has like a stencil. He like showed it to me how it looks in the back and on the side. And I'm like, it looks sick on the side because it's like facing the same direction that I walk, so it like looks like it's flowing with me as I walk. So I ended up doing it that way. And some of the hair that he drew or like tattooed on kind of got to the back of my calf. And holy moly, I was like a little bit glad. And then the day with that.
At least it
costume.
wasn't like those videos where they're crying. Like, you see that?
But I mean, doable, and I'm like, I'll gladly do it again.
Yeah?
If anything, I'll probably just stick to that leg and just do that, fill up that whole leg eventually.
nice. Cool.
Video game related stuff.
So I have a question about the tattoo.
Yeah.
It's a dragon.
It is a dragon tattoo.
Does the dragon have a name?
The dragon does not. Sharon. No, I was kidding. Or what's his name?
Shenron?
Shenron? Is that the from Dragon Ball Z?
Yeah. That sounds.
Shenron.
It could be some other name.
So this is another thing. Like, this is so bad on my end.
Right.
My very first tattoo, but up until literally 5 o'clock, which is like the hour I was supposed to start getting tattooed, I didn't even see the design.
Oh,
And
that would
then-
nerve wreck me
And then
because I would start thinking about
the thing is, like, I've seen a lot of his work. I
Okay.
wasn't worried it was gonna be bad.
Cool.
But I love this design. Like, I'm super satisfied.
Yeah, it
Like, I'm
looks
actually
legit.
really, really happy with it. But I would still have loved to have a choice, like him, like bust out with like 3 versions or something. And so, but like when he was like, what did he say? He showed it to me, and I don't remember what he specifically asked, but it was along, in my head, it was along the lines of like, he can change it up still. But I was like, no, it's really good. I like it. And then like as the moment came for me to sit in the chair, I was like, do you have any other dragon head designs? He's like, no, this is the only one. And I'm like, what the hell did you ask me the question for? But then he was like, I have a book full of stencils of like ones I've already drawn. I can easily do any of those if you want me to. And I looked through the whole thing, and it's like, I don't care for any of those things. Dragon Tattoo is perfect. Yeah, and then color wise, I asked him like, what color, and he's like, I don't know, green. I'm like, okay.
It looks legit.
Yeah, it looks really good. It looks
Okay,
really good.
so
It's
that's-
just funny. Like, I just went with the flow, and it ended up working really well for me.
Nice.
But like, yeah, deep down I was like, if this fucking blows, I'll be so fucking pissed.
Did you do anything else?
I got fake Yeezys.
Congrats.
I ordered these a while ago before I had a tattoo. Got them after I had a tattoo.
Damn.
Yeah, I don't know my full website, and the reason I ordered them is I've been watching a lot of YouTube about them ordering off of this website specifically. I'm not going to name it. And the guy talked about how the shoes seem pretty legit, like quality wise, like not even like the fact that they were like supposed to be a knockoff or whatever.
Look-wise, yeah.
Yeah, look wise. And I was like, I've always wanted to have a Yeezy looking shoe, and this way I don't have to worry about taking care of it. And it turned out really nicely. Like, these are really comfortable,
Cool.
like shoes in general. So
Nice.
happy with the shoes. They're like $12.
Damn.
So not too bad. So we did that. What else? What else did I do, guys? You tell me.
Oh.
I talked about upgrade last time.
Yeah.
Haven't really touched Moonlighter.
Okay. I found out the game I was talking about, by the way. Just to segue.
Hold on. Wizards of the West.
Yeah. Of the
North.
realm? Or
You
something?
forgot
Royal
already.
Realm.
It's
Royale.
Wizards. I remember
Realm
it was
Royale.
Wizards. I know it was Wizards
It
now.
doesn't matter. You don't even know.
Stop. Okay, fine.
Realm Royale.
What have you been up to, Jay?
The stream life. Oh, actually, you know what? I've been fucking applying to so many jobs. Like, I'm
Casey Neistat.
like Mozart, dude. Dun dun dun. Just I've been dude. Making a resume just takes a lot of, because you got to cater to that specific company. It just takes so much time. But I'm just not happy with work right now, and overworked, underpaid.
So
I hope your boss is listening to the podcast.
I hope I don't care anymore. Like, that's how
come
I
on,
don't care.
fire me, do it.
Yeah, I don't care anymore.
here.
If they're listening, whatever.
it's a liberating feeling, but it's
Yeah.
also painful because you're in that state. But it's liberating in the sense that you're not hiding anymore.
Right.
You're not just like nervous, anxious.
Um,
Good luck.
I played a lot of games this weekend. That's all I did. Resume in games: Hollow Knight, Realm Royale, Fortnite, and Dark Souls. I'm pretty much done with Dark Souls.
I cannot.
I just
do
had
that.
to beat the last boss, but there's like 4 optional bosses I have to beat before. Because I wasn't looking at a guide. I was like, you know what? This is the last boss, and I want to clean up everything, and it's not that hard.
Are you enjoying it?
Ornstein and Schmau is the hardest. They're considered the hardest bosses. In
Don't they have a
video games.
nickname?
They do? I don't know.
Oh.
Shake
They-
and bake.
Someone kept on calling him the lawyer because his last name is Ornstein. Jewish
No.
Ornstein. They said the lawyer, and I don't know what they call the other guy.
Okay.
But yeah, the stream life, dude. And VidCon starting tomorrow.
You got videos? You're gonna be at a panel?
I
Are you
think
doing
I'm
any
just
signings for
doing
people?
panels, dude. There is no.
Damn.
So as a creator, you don't get a. You don't
got
go.
that many pounds for yourself? I can visit you?
What are you
Fuck,
talking
dude.
about?
Huh? Oh no. I'm going to panels.
I
Just
know.
You're
learn.
attending. Oh, I didn't
Yeah,
know.
yeah. It's just like from 9 to 5, just packed back to back panels. I want to learn a lot. I feel like I don't know shit
Want to
about.
meet Markiplier?
See,
number
so
one?
you can't do signings. If you're a creator badge, you can do a meet with a creator and just get ideas off of them, but it's only one creator, and I didn't get any of my creators. The lottery was not good to me, but
So you got a creator badge?
I have a creator badge.
Nice, congrats.
So I'm just
Another
gonna,
step in.
I'm just gonna try
That
to.
road
I mean,
to
it's not hard
Road
to get
to
a creator.
E3.
I think anyone can buy a creator badge.
Man, don't
You
tell me that. Don't tell them that. Make it sound prestigious.
But actually, people want to buy the regular badge because they want to do the meet and greets.
Okay,
they
makes
want to
sense.
meet the people.
Just
I'm
wanna
not.
be
I'm there to learn, dude.
Casey Neistat, normal badge.
I'm here to learn, dude.
Educate.
So-
Nice. I'm curious when next podcast what you've learned. Maybe you could impart some of that knowledge.
I'm not curious.
The SEO, dude. Search engine optimization. That's all I need.
For me, what has been up?
Power Rangers.
What?
Just threw a word
Furry
out there.
convention.
No, neither of those things.
Much love to furries.
Oh, furry Power Rangers convention. There you go.
Oh.
Combine them.
You're hijacking my section. You had your chance.
Hey, you hijacked mine.
I tried. I played Hollow Knight. I've been enjoying it.
It's fun.
It's very calming, but at the same time, like I'm eager to get into the meat of it.
It's
Disturbing.
Dark Souls meets Metroid. It's
Yeah.
very Dark Souls like.
Yeah, some of the fights, like I'm just like going in back and forth, just like picking off, and I just want to go and just fucking.
I forgot to mention, there's a boss in there harder than any of the Dark Souls bosses.
How far are you?
So there's.
Are
I don't
you
know if you
past
fought.
the flower part?
I just got it. The boss is in
The flower?
The flower part.
Is it the bearded guy?
Does he have a beard? Oh, it's okay. So in the game, they have dream bosses. He's the second dream boss.
I feel like you know way more about this game than I.
I played a
Okay.
lot.
I've been enjoying it. I'm lost half the time. Like I beat the first main area, and I was able to move on to the grassy area, whatever the hell
The
that area is.
grassy knoll.
Yeah. And
You're
I
the
was
second
was
shooter?
gonna try and go back to the first area because I was like, I can beat these clubbing guys a lot easier now, and I for the life of me can't find them.
Oh shit!
And I've just been going laps. I'm like, I'm gonna give up now. I'm just gonna move on. I'll come back for them later. But I love the ambience. I love that I waited for the Switch because I was playing on the go and I docked it, played. I don't. Have you guys heard of a game called Fortnite?
No.
No.
I just
Indie, right?
Yeah, I got a battle pass for it.
Yeah?
on
Oh,
the Switch.
shit.
You went out.
Damn.
Well, I figured I was just gonna jump in.
You're marrying this thing at this
Shit.
point. Yeah?
No, I played one game.
Exactly, but you bought a battle pass.
I commit.
I know.
I gotta earn my money. It's like I spent the money. Now I gotta make it worth a dollar. Yeah, I don't know. I got caught up. I was like, I'll give it a shot. If there's any place, I'll do it on the Switch.
Hey, at least you can, connect it to PC and not have to worry about it. Just not PlayStation
yeah.
4 anymore.
But we can take it to PAX if you guys play. on the
I
Switch.
haven't it connected to PS4. I can't.
So
do it.
wait, so you played it
Stunning.
on the Switch? There's only Wi-Fi, like internet play, right? There's no local area.
So
network.
this is my first experience with the game.
When,
I was going through all the settings. It
when
seems like it's only like Wi-Fi.
when you start the game, is there like a screen where it asks you to play 100 player royale or something versus something?
I still haven't figured out how to do the solo. I just want to do solo, but it's like
Oh.
50v50. And I'm running around like, is this guy my friend? And then I die. I'm like, no, I guess he's.
So you're playing 50v50?
That's the only one I did so far.
Oh, I think
Okay.
you have to change the game type.
I probably gotta mess with it.
I know, but like as you like load the game,
Yeah.
I don't
Before
know if it
you
loads
start the
straight-
game, it tells you two game types, which is the single player and then there's the multiplayer. The
I-
Royale and then Battle Royale and then the other one.
It just had because it's when you, it just had the squad up section where it's like start a
That's
game.
weird.
So when you turn on the game, it goes straight into that squad up section.
I think so.
Okay, it makes sense because they probably don't have the full single player on there.
Because it's money.
Money.
And then played a little bit of that. I played a little bit of Wizards, which is my brother has been talking about it. He's like, it's his game of the year. He doesn't play a wide variety of games, but the games he plays, he puts lots of hours in. And it makes sense to me why he says that, because it's very much like Binding of Isaac with a lot more capabilities to it. Like you're a wizard now with like 8 different
It
attacks.
feels exactly like a game that was inspired by Avatar, Airbender stuff.
Like that content mixed with Binding of Isaac. Yeah. Like, because you're going into a room, you fight everyone off, then you go to the next dungeon and all that. So it's cool vibe. then I cannot. I'm at a struggle with Destiny. I want to play on PS4. I want to play with people.
But the PC's so good.
But like I'm just trying to like everything that I'm trying to do with PS4, I'm just like and then like the fourth shot, I'll headshot him finally. Whereas on PC, I'm just like
play mouse and keyboard.
Yeah.
He's like
Play controller.
Bing, bing, bing.
Yeah.
Bing,
Huh?
bing, bing, bing.
Play controller on PC.
No, why? That it feels good on mouse and keyboard.
You feel good on mouse.
I do.
So what
feel
you need to
good,
do
bro.
is
Hey, how you doing?
you need to
How
buy
you
Zim.
A
You need to buy
Zim?
Zim.
How am I gonna use it on the couch?
Get those like lap things.
How do you put your PC on the couch right now?
So if I'm playing PC, I'm at my PC area. If I'm gonna use mouse and keyboard, then I gotta use.
So the Zim you play on your PC, it's streaming your
No.
PS4 to your
No, it's
PC.
just
No.
it converts the mouse and keyboard into a.
So I play my PS4,
Oh,
connect
really?
the Zim,
It-
mouse and keyboard.
So it's connected to the PS4.
Yes.
Okay.
It's dangerous. Headshots. I've seen people stream with that.
All I know is
Headshots.
you can do remote play on your PC.
Yeah, that's true. But there's too many Wi-Fi things that are going on with the podcast episodes stuff. That's true. I don't want to humble brag. So I'm at a struggle of like it feels better on there, but I went back to PS4 and I was like, I'm behind. I'm gonna do all my milestones, and I'm like, I like this, but
They need to link it. What are they doing?
I feel like I know Fortnite is having this struggle right now, and it's bringing it to the forefront. And we didn't really talk about it too much because our E3 post episode was like 2 hours long. But the whole idea of not just it doesn't need to be cross play. It just I want to be able to take my account.
Progression,
I just
right.
want to be like, okay, take this progression. Let me continue it.
Exactly.
No, because that's taking money away from them.
Well, no, they can like I'm fine. Okay, maybe they could be like, all right, if you want to do that, you have to add another $5 to your.
Now you're taking more
Okay.
money away from me. No.
Well,
No.
then for the people that want to do it, I don't know.
I'm just
They
kidding.
could make it. They can make it work
But
if they want.
what was it? It was like a previous like Sony employee, like a CEO.
The post the previous head of Sony
yeah
Entertainment.
talked about like how it's literally money. Like
Yeah,
why would you
It
want
makes
to
sense.
have
'Cause-
someone go on like buy it on a different system and then just play it on PS4? Like he does. They want that money to them, so then they want the money to be bought through them.
I guess that's a basic way of saying it. But if I'm playing more here, there's the odds of me spending more money is likely to be on
Yeah.
here too. So I don't know. It's an ongoing struggle. But I would love if I could just cross it over between that. And then finally, I've been itching to play like a really nice, like after God of War and a few of these games, I realized I have some backlog of some games, and I started a Bloodborne for the first time, like fully. Not first time, I should say. I should preface that. I bought it once when I first got my PS4. I was still in the house where you create your character, and there's that lab, and that thing mauled me, and I couldn't get past it, and I was like, I'm putting this back into this. I'm going back to GameStop, returned it. They gave me my full refund. I was like, all right, cool. And then I think a month or two passed, and I was like, you know what? I was listening to people talk about it. It's like, yeah, it's really hard, but like when you learn the curve, you'd start. I was like, you know what? I'm giving it a shot. Bought it, never touched it. I was like, but I'll get to it because I was deep in Destiny at that time. Now I was like, all right, it's time. I'm ready.
No,
Because I've beaten all the Valkyries and God of War.
with the experience from playing Hollow Knight.
Yeah, the Hollow Knight experience, watching Jang play Dark Souls, everything lined up, and I went to that wolf,
And
he killed me. But then I was outside, and it lets you get your gun and your weapon, and I shot it 2 times, and it died. I was like,
Nice.
"Bitch, I got you."
Got him.
So yeah, that's pretty much how most of the like Bloodborne / Dark Souls games is. It pins you up against a monster that you're generally supposed to lose to.
That's what everyone keeps telling me. Like I'm not supposed to be able to beat that wolf. That's what I kept hearing.
You can. It's just tough.
Yeah, you can.
But it's just
like,
2 shots.
Well, once you pick that stuff up, but generally when you
Oh, you're
spawn
saying,
outside,
like, just-
you're supposed to pick up your stuff and walk away. Like so, you wanted revenge.
No, but it wouldn't let me go anywhere when I was outside. I had to
maybe
go
you're
back
right.
inside,
Maybe
kill
you're
it, and then
right.
open a door, and
Maybe
then
you're
all of
right.
a sudden I could do all
Yeah.
this shit.
Like so he's playing like the remastered
Of
Jang is
Dark Souls.
Dark Souls.
Yeah.
There's a like so you find a boss twice, I think, the same boss, and you're supposed to run away from him the first time because you don't have a weapon.
Mm-hmm.
But you could technically kill him without a weapon. Like that's the challenge people give themselves. Like they start the game and like I'm gonna beat this fool without obviously dying, because if you die it kicks you out and then you have to finally get the weapon and come back. So they will restart the game, keep trying to kill him without a weapon, and you don't get anything extra. You get the exact same loot
just like
from him killing him with the weapon.
The self.
No trophy.
But like I'm at now where I'm in the Yarnum or whatever the hell, and there's this big guy with a hood and an axe, and I can't beat him.
He's tough. You have to parry him.
I don't even know how to do that. I'm just trying to dodge.
So right when he hits, you're supposed to shoot the gun. It's kind of like
I'm supposed to have my gun out. I put it away because I was like,
that game. Well, it just depends on your playstyle.
Yeah, you can do stuff with dodging, but parry is like the easiest way, because if you time it right, he gets stunned and then you just
more openings.
And it's just you just obliterate him.
I'll get past them hopefully by next podcast. But it's just like I'm switching between all these games. I'm just like boom, boom. I can't I'm not settled into any one, which is a pain. But at the same time, there's so many good games out there right now that I'm like I want to taste. I played a little bit more Octopath.
Oh, sure.
It's really beautiful. Like you guys like the old school like Final Fantasy 1 through 4, 5, 6. Like
I need to download it.
It takes that and just polishes it off. And it reminds me of Final Fantasy Tactics, War of the Lions. Like that sort of like isometric. Like it adds depth to it, even though it's like flat. Yeah. So, some things happened this week. We can talk about some of that with some of our topics. But who wants to start?
I can.
You want to, or do you want me to?
You can go.
All right, I'll go. We've with E3 we had like 8 different E3 podcasts. We kept talking about like who wins and who succeeds, and like how in a lot of them we brought up Fortnite as an example of like in order to beat, like they're the dog to beat right now in terms of like getting audiences, but the more games we saw at E3 and the more I've just been thinking about, I'm like, does every game need to draw, like does player count matter with every game? Like in the idea of like, does a game need to sell or be successful, and is that the main goal of these developers all the time? So it's like a tough line that they face of being an art where they're trying to tell them a story or a message versus being a successful game. And what's their missions? What's your guys' perspective on like what do you enjoy? What do you like to see? What do you hope for with publishers? I wanted to get your thoughts.
When it comes to a game, there's 2 completely different people working on it. There's the people that obviously love games, or the ones making the game. They want to make this game enjoyable. Yeah. And then there's a corporate side, the side that we want money out of this game. Like we don't want to lose money out of this game.
It's an investment.
And yeah, it's an investment. So then there's like, you got to do that balance of like, you want this game designer to do this best, but you also want him to implement things that can help you make more money, either by microtransactions or just like extra content that you can buy later. It's generally the route that's going now, has been going. But then we've seen like a lot of backlash with that. You know, like we had Battlefront, and then we had Destiny kind of just muddled the expansion method of it. Because they had you rebuy the whole game again after you owned everything, to continue playing the newer expansion stuff. But then we have people like Fortnite who have just like, they've done every right decision and have made the game very fun. You know, it's 100% only cosmetics. There's no extra like actual gear that makes you better in the game in general. And they've been making a shit ton of money off of that. They released it also on mobile, and they've made even more money. Like 25 million at some point or whatever per month or some shit like that.
2 million people jumping on it on the Switch within like the day of it getting.
Yeah, and then half of them finding out they can't because they linked it to PlayStation 4. But and no fault of Fortnite's or Epic. But I have no clue where I was going with this. But
just get it all out.
Where was I going with this? So the balance with E3, we've seen a change of this. Like we had Division was one of the biggest ones. They're like, here's a game, full price, and the rest of the content from now on is gonna be free for you guys. Was one of them. And then we had, I think Battlefront. They came out with something. Yeah,
Battlefield.
Like
Battlefront. Yeah,
Battlefront. All the newer content is going to be free now.
Yeah, but what I was trying to get across was like, there's games like Inside and there's games like Firewatch, or I mean, sometimes you could even say to the higher quality of like AAA publishers of like Last of Us and any number of other games where it's regardless of, I mean, sales is obviously a factor, but they're telling a story regardless of if the market is telling them you need to go battle royale, you need to go free to play.
I think with those games
otherwise you're not considered a success.
They're more like, it's still a big game company, but the producers or like the creators of that game are more indie in a sense of like they get less money to create this game, so then it's all on them to make like a fantastic story. And there are games like that make money. I'm trying to like get back to like the balancing because I keep talking about money.
Well, do you think it's essential that every game be successful, like on a business standpoint?
I think it is because if a game is not successful, generally you get less funding on a next game, or you just completely cut out.
You get BioShock. What happened to BioShock?
What can you
the guys who made BioShock, they didn't make enough off of Infinite, so their company went under. Well, it got bought out by.
But as a player, from a player's standpoint, do you feel like, let's say hypothetically, the publisher, like the guys that developed BioShock, they created a game for you, and it was the most mind-blowing, memorable experience you've ever had. You feel emotions you've never felt before.
The first BioShock, yes.
But it didn't sell numbers. It didn't have widespread love and care, so people didn't buy it, and they fell under. But you always will have that experience of like that. I'll never have that again because
you want them to succeed so they can make another one.
That's what like. What if they make something that's not as heartfelt or touching, but it is more appealing? Like on a general sense, it's like movies. Like you watch a movie that's very niche, and you're like that like it honed in with me. I see parallels, I'm saying, with like other medias, but like I'm using movies as an example.
No, you're good.
You're saying you have a movie that hits home with you, but it didn't succeed because it wasn't accessible. Yeah. And so a lot of studios are like, we need to make our games more accessible, but as a result, they lose.
Like John Carter, really love that movie. Fantastic movie.
Dark Souls. I know they're successful, but they're known for like a certain level of quality. But if they were to make their games more accessible. Accessibility is oftentimes part tailored with like making a game profitable.
A good example is like Demon Souls. Demon Souls is literally like the original Dark Souls. It did fair, but not amazing, and so the game was able to live on, but they had to kind of rebrand the whole genre of that type. And they were, I don't know how the hell it happened. Like, I really don't know how they were able to rebrand it to become Dark Souls, the actual Dark Souls, and become as successful as it is. I feel like it was at a time when, like, we had Japanese games coming in that were very difficult. And so, like, that difficulty setting is what people wanted. They want that challenge. But Demon Souls, like, so imagine Dark Souls just coming out super early and not making its numbers. So they cut out like the online very quickly. I mean, it wasn't quick; it was still a long time. But like they ended up cutting it, and it had so much backlash that I think they like redid it for a while again, but then they've cut it off again. And that's a game where it's like I like that style, but I also want them to succeed, and I'm glad that the game exists because I get to enjoy it. But that want versus that like the need, like, well, what's a game that I wish could have continued but stopped because it ended? I don't know. Like, I can't think of a game.
A couple of studios that come to mind right now, they did something really cool, and they had a lot of critical acclaim, but they didn't make the numbers that they needed to potentially continue. Their studio would invest them, but it was always like a loss of return in profit, but they kept getting acclaim. Was Arcane, which did Dishonored 1, 2, and then the separate one, and then Titanfall. I know 2. The first one came out; it was all multiplayer.
And Dead Space.
Dead Space from Respawn.
Respawn.
Yeah, were they Respawn? I thought it was a different studio. It was
Visceral.
Visceral. That's it.
Visceral.
But I'll use Titanfall first. Is that it was all multiplayer, but they're like, no, I want some meat to this. I want a campaign. So they gave it a campaign. It's really awesome. Like, I loved it personally. I know it was regarded in a lot of news articles and stuff as like really clever design of levels and stuff. It just didn't sell the numbers. So whether or not they make a third one is now up in the air because of that. But I love that they went and took that risk.
Right.
And I think that's a risk in the game design where it's like we might not see profits from this because of all these formulas in the current market and such. But we think this is cool. We're behind it. We think people could get behind it that try it. And like for the people that try it, they can go on in later on be like recommend like word of like, man, did you try that? Man, that blew my mind. And like that to me, I would if I had to pick, like if it was like a black and white world where it's like every game is accessible, every game is like widespread, every game versus like niche games. I'm not gonna love every game. I'm gonna love one of like certain games. I would go more. I'm leaning more on that side because that's just the kind of player I am. I want these experiences. I don't need something like an ongoing like how today is where it's like we need our WoWs or we need our Destinies or whatever where it's like this ongoing thing. I feel like that's more being driven because of the streaming lifestyle. People need this. You guys mentioned before in previous conversations where like streaming dictates a lot of games success and I had a brain fart. Hold on. Yeah, a lot of game success, and so they need stuff that's sustainable. They need things that, like, if you play a single player game, it's like, all right, that's done, and now I need to move on because I am a content creator. This is my living now as a streamer. How do I do that? I can do that with games that are like endlessly playable or whatever. And that works for them, but I'm not a streamer, so to me, I'm more like I want to experience like a movie or a show or something. I don't know.
So in that black and white world, I would be the continuous, available to everyone situation. And there's more to that answer.
Oh yeah, like you think about that too. I want to just really quickly say, it doesn't become the experience. It becomes the experiences you create.
Yeah.
And that has its own merits, which I was going to touch on. But yeah, sorry, continue.
Yeah, so like, I mean, so let's go with BioShock versus Titanfall. Titanfall had 2 titles, Titanfall 1 and 2. BioShock had 3 titles. I would choose the BioShock title because I get an extra game, a longer experience, as opposed to, let's say, Titanfall is a much more enjoyable experience, but it's only in 2 titles. I'd rather go with the
But I think you're comparing 2 things that are similar in that sense, in that there were experiences that ended up not being successful profit wise.
What I'm trying to say is I would rather have the game company do something that is like a cheap trick to continue having that funding, as opposed to a game doing something crazy and failing but it was a successful game like for gamers, but not successful in monetary wise, so therefore they lost the funding and they're gone. I'd rather they have done something to like a gimmick that brings in the money for that game so they can continue telling that story. Okay. I guess is mine. So like mine, I would sacrifice like quality for quantity, I guess, if you actually bring it down to like the.
I mean, we're going extremes, so you might, yeah. Jang, where do you stand on some of this?
I think now, like, even if a game, like, let's say very niche and only a few people like it, like, the internet has like crowdfunding resources, so it's not like, I think like Psychonauts 2 was kind of crowdfunded, so like I feel like companies will do okay. Like if there's a game, as long as the game is well made and a decent amount of people like it, I feel like there's no hope lost.
Yeah, and I think you touched on something good where like we talk about Fortnite being like billions of people are playing it, like nothing can compare. I don't think a game needs billions of people to succeed. It won't compare. Like if you're in a competition with Fortnite, that's a different conversation. But if a game like God of War gets 2 million purchases,
like a Way Out, which only had like a couple, like 30,000 or something, or
300,000. It was like 500,000 or something.
Yeah,
that's for the scale of which it was made. That is great.
Right,
and I feel like our gaming as a culture and as a medium is so broad and big now that everything has a market. That I hope people aren't afraid to follow the niches and like there's a little bit of everything. It's like, again, I go to movies as because it's been in the industry for as long, if not longer, than games. You have your blockbusters. Everyone's trying to make a blockbuster. Everyone's trying to do a franchise. But then you got like your Christopher Nolan, your Interstellars, or you got your niche, like your you wouldn't have, if everyone followed that mold, you wouldn't have your Get Outs. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't have your Stranger Things season 2s.
So to compare,
we haven't made a reference to Stranger Things yet. I had to throw it in.
To compare like movie / shows to video games, we're talking about like single successful games versus like long extended series games, where like I'm trying to think of
Final Fantasy.
Because The Witcher 3 is that's a trilogy. Like there's 3. That's a Witcher 3 is the third game. Final Fantasy has literally like, I mean, they're all single stories up until it gets to
there could be an
ones.
argument made there.
Yeah, up until it gets to certain ones, and they have recurring things like chocobos and mogos,
mm-hmm.
Mowgli's.
I just wanted to have a conversation about this mainly because like we talk about always like a game needs to succeed. A game needs, and while that is true, we want the best for studios. Yeah. I feel like it should equally be said that like if a studio wants to pursue a creative endeavor that may not be what's in right now or the trend, it's that that isn't a detriment to, that shouldn't be a detriment to them. Like, it's a hard line to be like how far off, like you're not everything's gonna be successful.
Like the thing is like with a current studio, I want there to be a Cyberpunk 2077. You know, I want that to happen. Mm-hmm. But for that to have happened, they have to have been successful in their previous titles.
Sure,
like,
yeah.
So this is just a giant endeavor.
It's like
that needs success to build on.
Yeah, and they've had the reputation built from the Witcher series of that quality with a franchise that people knew and became more familiar with. They're able to now give themselves the time they need. Like a lot of times, because what you're saying earlier. Investment, then people want return on the investment. They're like, you're not meeting my quarterly earnings, get this game out now, and they rush it out.
But
they're at such a success, they're like, we're gonna take our time. We might remake the game and that might take longer, but we know it's worth it.
But then like if the original Witcher just was not successful, therefore there would have been these other Witchers, therefore there probably more likely would not be a 2077 Cyberpunk.
Sure.
So then I would say like I would be okay for them to do small gimmicks in those Witcher games to make it successful. So therefore it hinders my overall gaming experience. Like they choose cheap gimmicks that like are easily readable, but it's a for sure way to make a game successful, and it allows them to build to 2077.
Yeah.
But then if that is done, what is stopping them from doing that continuously to 2077, doing those similar gimmicks where it's like for sure it's going to bring in money, but it's just a cheap way of telling a story to continue on telling these stories. Like
I think they took things that like with The Witcher, it's a mix again, like many of these, but it was the right mixture of all this stuff where they took a familiar sort of game style which people love, which is like the single player RPGs, like the Fallouts and the Oblivions and stuff, and they took it like we can go deeper.
Yeah.
We can take it further.
And I'm not saying that the games do have a gimmick that is like a cheap way. I'm just saying like if it hadn't been successful, I could be saying now like I do wish they had a gimmick to make it successful so they can continue to this game. Mm-hmm. So like I do want successfulness in these companies. Yeah. And I'm okay with them doing cheap tricks to get there.
It's a balance.
Yeah.
A lot of these places play.
Yeah, whereas opposed you like I feel like from your black and white you'd choose the
I've noticed it more lately. I've had a few conversations with friends about like the Death Stranding trailer. Mm-hmm. Some people have talked to me and they're like, man, that was fucking weird. And then other people I'll lend movies or recommend movies and shows to people, and they're the things I love, and they're like the weird shit, and I'm like, not enough things get weird. Like, not enough things spice the pot up. Like, this isn't like your cookie cutter, like your serialized basic. Whatever. This is like a little different. And yeah, I've learned. I'm accepting it's not for everybody, and so I can't go around being like everyone will love this, like a Marvel movie or something. But when I think of it, like, to me, Vampire's Kiss by Nicolas Cage is one of my favorite movies because it's so fucking bonkers. He cranks it to 11 and then he just lets it, but it's incoherent.
Yeah.
Like, he's just rambling. He's just goofy. There's no like semblance of like a deep story. But I'm like, I don't know. I feel like from the lens I've had and all these things we've seen, like, not more things, in my opinion, should be more like that. But I can see both. I can see the other side too.
And that's Hideo taking a chance. Like,
yeah, and then the Stranding, it's like we know he's good because he's taken this franchise that everyone's like over years loved. Who's to say this game is going to be as iconic as those other ones? Like, it could just be weird and be like, I don't know. It's not for all of
it literally is just like a backpack carrying games. And you just gotta dodge these.
He's really making what's a Katamari Damacy game.
You start rolling and collecting shit. Like you this crazy ass story in the beginning, and then like 10 minutes into the game, you just start rolling.
When you see it with all the bags on the bridge, that's like you're working up. And then he saw the hill with the gun. He's like, I'm gonna roll down there. That would be the craziest moment of that trailer.
So it's like so the first 30
Mads
minutes.
Mikkelsen is the king.
It's the first 30 minutes is this like crazy, like, you know, this whole concept or whatever. And then as soon as like you get to the top of the hill, you start rolling down, and he just like starts out Katamari. And so you're like, oh fuck.
A part of your shake with the hand of your soul. Dude, blow my mind. All right, let's bring it back. Do you want to go your topic now?
Yeah, we can do mine.
Right, go for it.
Mine was, I don't remember what mine was.
Games and difficulty.
Okay,
one
difficulty.
difficulty.
So similar to what like Dark Souls has done, the Bloodborne games have done, is these games you start the game and you don't choose a difficulty. Like, you literally just hit new game, and you start the game, and you cannot change the difficulty. The difficulty is what it is. What games exist now, or maybe games that obviously we've seen at E3 that you want to see, would benefit from not having a difficulty system and just being like, you hit continue or you hit new game and it just starts and you don't get to choose any of this. Like, what's a good? And the thing is, like, with Dark Souls, it's not an easy to follow story. Like, you're not playing that shit for like the story, pretty much.
I've heard like the people that do dig in.
Yeah, it gets crazy. Yeah. But playing it, like, you're not gonna get that shit.
You
have
to
read
into it.
Like, yeah, there's a lot to it. There's a lot more work to get the story.
Yeah.
But that's not what's causing people to want to play this.
Right,
it's that difficulty. It's that mastering these things.
Yeah.
And I think they do a really good job of the bosses not being hard in a sense of like they kill you like in one hit. Because generally it does take like 2 or 3 hits for you to die, depending on your gear. It can be even more. But they make it a way of you to learn, like to learn the moves and to dodge, and possibly you'd never even get touched on certain boss fights. But then like you think of Drake, Uncharted. Like when you go to like the hardest difficulty, crushing, like it's just like a cheap, like you get, yeah, like they had 100% accuracy and the bullets do 100% damage.
It's very video gamey.
Yeah, exactly. So I think for a game to be successful, this is one I'm going to bring up is specifically Drake Uncharted. I think that would be a really good game without difficulty settings. But
really?
The way they would do it is by dodging mechanics, same way that Dark Souls does. So like when they're shooting, you could dodge left and right.
Bullets.
Yeah, dodge bullets. Where if you're constantly dodging at the right time, it's like you have invincibility frames, dodge through the bullets, stuff like that's really cool. Because there's in Uncharted, the very first one, there's like there's specifically on crushing, there's a boss fight at the end where you're on a boat, and you literally start the mission dying. You start the mission dying. You have to wait until there's a point where you don't actually die, and you have to just hide for a bit to recover that health that you lost, because you get shot once and you're dead.
Yeah.
And it was the dumbest thing. So if I could just like start the mission, roll at a perfect time, and ignore that damage, and then just continue doing that, like it makes it so much better. So don't have it at a high difficulty, but be able to have skill to be able to continue on in the game. I think that's really cool. So Uncharted for me is one of them. I have no more.
You guys might have to correct me. I think it depends on AI design. Like if it's not cheap, then you don't have to change the difficulty. I'm going to bring 2 examples. You guys correct me if I'm wrong.
If they-
StarCraft does not have a difficulty, right?
The story mode does.
It does, yeah.
Okay, never mind then. Super Mario Brothers is my second. Like, the AI is not, like, hard, but there are challenging moments to it. So
Mhm.
I would say, like, the AI design has to be not cheap. Like, Uncharted is super cheap.
Yeah.
So if the AI design is good, like Super Mario Brothers is perfect. It's perfect as is.
I was gonna bring up Mario. I was gonna bring up Mario Odyssey as a recent example.
Does Mario
but
have? I have the game. I have not even loaded that thing up.
You haven't played Mario Odyssey?
It doesn't have
I haven't
Dude.
played it.
Does it have a
You haven't
difficulty?
played
I don't have it though.
Does it have a difficulty?
No, Mario's never had
Okay.
difficulty.
Breath of the Wild. It's a little too easy.
Well,
It-
no,
But
there are
it's
hard.
It's like
There's
how
a
you want to go
difficulty now.
through it.
Oh, there's difficult.
Well, there's a master mode.
There's the master mode, which I consider it's easy
Yeah,
and hard, literally, or
yeah.
fucking ultra hard. God damn it!
Yeah, like in that version,
Like Breath of the
everything.
Wild, there are enemies that are really difficult, and
Yeah.
then the bosses are just easy.
Like you're talking about the Divine Beast.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, like I know master mode, everything regens. So if you back off of something, you can't just chip away at it. It's gonna regen if you
Yeah, because
ease off of it.
most styles is you're far away shooting arrows at the guy.
Oh wow.
But if you're far enough away, if you hit him with an arrow, and like if you're just spamming arrows, the second arrow before he even reaches him, his health is already regenerating,
Yeah.
and you hit him again, and it's like blick, blick, blick.
But
so
I
you're
think
never gonna
I
kill
think
him that
modes
way.
like master mode, not master mode. What's it called? The trials, the sword trials,
Mhm.
or Eventide Island.
Yeah.
Where it strips you of all your gear
Yeah.
that you've like earned through experience, and it puts everyone on an even playing field. It's like you're just you.
right.
Go figure
Mhm.
this shit out. I think that's a clever way of overcoming the obstacle of difficulty by creating innate challenges,
Yeah.
much like Dark Souls.
exactly.
I think Mario does a cool thing where it really speaks to the level designs
Mhm.
of you could like the main courses introduce levels of difficulty, but because of the mechanics they've been trying to push on you, the way they talk about game design is so like simple.
Mhm.
It makes sense. It's just like everything's this easy. Like if you think about it at that level, it's just like the game builds itself. Yeah. And then they're like it naturally teaches you to play, and as it progresses, again, Dark Souls I think follows a lot of this inspiration, and then it's influenced a lot more or become more widespread. Of just like how do you create your levels, and that holds the difficulties and the challenges within that. I think though there are some games that benefit from. I want to just comment on the idea of difficulties. I think games. Like you said, AI. I think that's a factor. I think genres could be a factor too, like or game styles, like a first-person shooter.
Mhm.
I think of like Doom and Wolfenstein, where it makes it like like, do you want to play on like pansy mode, and it like makes it like a comment, like a meta conversation with the game, where it's like, are you a pansy? And it puts like a little binky in your mouth, like, or you want to play on like hardcore, or like Diablo hardcore mode.
Mhm.
You can play on this mode. It's very difficult, and it's like the costs are the stakes are high, so it's a milestone to succeed on that level. I don't think that works when you're like a game like those more so Diablo. I don't think that you can make that work where it's like the game naturally gets harder because you can't create that stake coming in. It's like putting a bet on the line. It's like I want to.
But with me, it's like challenges, like something. It's not a first-person shooter per se because. Oh no, it is. What am I talking about? Destiny. Like it doesn't have a difficulty setting.
Yeah, that's a great example.
But it gives you challenges. It gives you trials. It gives not trials like the thing. When you do a raid, there are like platforming
challenges
you gotta do. There's like you all gotta do something at the same time. But then it does still ramp it up in difficulty where a raid can be a normal raid or a heroic or what do they call
prestige,
it?
heroic,
Prestige.
challenge. Like they make these obstacles built. I think a game that could benefit from what you're saying that I had in mind was Horizon. I'd say it's much akin to Uncharted in that, and I think of it like a combination of Uncharted with Monster Hunter. It's like make the monsters and the beasts you encounter, whether you want to encounter them or not, the challenges. Like I could just bypass this Thunderjaw or this like crazy Thunderjaw. But if I decide to encounter it, I can like then go through this ordeal where it's like this is difficult or like much like Dark Souls too. So that would probably be my pick. But But it speaks to a lot of in I think the design and the AI. Like you learned like when you think about it, like how you're bringing up, a lot of thought gets put into that. Like how do we just build it in where it's seamless versus flip like crank a switch between 1 to 5.
Yeah,
like it's crazy.
Because I wanted to bring up like Breath of the Wild. That like when the game first came out, there is no difficulty. Like you literally just hit new game and then you start the new game. And I mean, I had a wonderful time. I had a challenging time. And now that I had downloaded the DLC and I got the master mode, I'm playing it through master mode. And dude, playing it on like just the original setting, it's like it's the easiest thing in the world. It's near impossible to fucking beat the shit in. And so what's crazy is like not knowing that there was DLC where you have a master mode, like an ultra hard mode, I would have just been like, this is perfect, you know. But now playing an ultra hard mode, like I realized like I could still step it up, and having the difficulty that I've been playing at was easy as shit. Like because there's still difficult parts though in that. There's still parts where like even though the game in general is easy, I still have a challenge fighting a Lionel.
Yeah,
like that's still not as easy. God
of War is another game that comes to mind. Like I think that could have done without all the difficulties and just made like Valkyries in crazy difficulty, and like certain fights, like the encounters, the mechanics drive it. But I agree with you on Breath of the Wild. I wonder, do you think it helped or hurt it that they added a master mode?
I don't think
help.
I don't know. I don't
like they added other stuff.
There's those hardcore gamers that.
I know, but I'm neutral like when it comes to me because it.
But do you think it rewarded those fans, but it like hurt the fans that are like, I thought I beat the game and whatever the challenges were?
In that case, I think it only helped because the people that are true fans are obviously going to try to play it, and they'll either continue persistently do it, or they'll. I mean, not like true fans, but like gamers that enjoy Zelda and challenge at the same time.
Yeah, because I could enjoy Zelda for other aspects. Like I could just be like, I want to just traverse,
and you'll never touch the master mode. You'll just play it on regular.
I don't know. Part of me argues that, like when you like doing yoga classes, a lot of times they're like, all right, do this move, and it's like, all right, I'm doing it. It's like if you really want to challenge, flip your other leg behind your head,
right?
And I'm like, this is a challenge, bitch. Like, what are you saying? Like, it's like you're making my current achievement diminished. You know what I mean? Like.
I don't see. I mean, that's just me personally because I don't see it that way. I don't see me beating the game in original mode less of a reward because now a master mode exists. For me, it's like if I want. So
if someone were to say right now, like, you beat Dark Souls, everyone's like, Dark Souls in and of itself is difficult, but then all of a sudden they're like, no, you've been playing normal Dark Souls. There's a hard Dark Souls.
Yeah, which is Blood Souls 1.
Well, I just like. If someone says there's a hard Dark Souls, I feel like it innately says that the current Dark Souls is not hard.
So personally, I don't feel like it diminishes my achievement because there is like, dude, there's people that have beaten Dark Souls like holy shit, and then there's people that have beaten Dark Souls no hit run. There are people that have beaten Dark Souls playing a fucking guitar. Yeah, like for me, it's not like holy shit, like they made me look like shit.
That's a challenge they put on themselves,
right? But because they successfully did that challenge, regardless of the game not having the challenge, it should diminish my award of beating the game in general. But it doesn't. I don't feel that way.
I see what you're saying.
I don't feel like holy shit because he beat the whole game just using a guitar.
Yeah.
My winning with a regular controller is now,
means less.
It doesn't for me because I still enjoyed the challenge. I still had fun, and it was a reward. Like me beating, the Witness. The Witness doesn't have a difficulty, and I beat it before Roberto.
You that Roberto?
I don't even know if Burrito was ever actually beaten it still.
Damn.
But
shots fired.
Like if he was to have beaten it in a quicker time, it still doesn't diminish the fact that I just beat it in general.
No, you make a good argument. Yeah. Cool. Any final thoughts?
The final weekly DLC. Wait, what? I'm going to another podcast, guys.
What? Ends right there.
Twitch Hollywood. All right, the next topic is a tough one.
Enjoy your burrito.
Enjoy your burrito.
So last week, Chloe Dykstra wrote an article saying she was abused by
An
a
ex.
former ex. She never named the ex, but people are putting 2 and 2 together and saying that it's Chris Hardwick. And so, like, the backlash of this is AMC and a whole bunch of like festivals, Comic-Con. They're kind of like
NBC.
they're like disassociating with
Much
Chris
like
Hardwick.
all the other celebrities. When they
So my question is, do you think it's fair that those companies are cutting the ties with Chris Hardwick?
So specifically with, I think, AMC, he does the Talking Dead.
Yeah.
And I believe he's also in talks to do something called The Wall.
That's
with
for
them.
NBC.
Oh, that's
He
NBC.
has that.
Okay.
right now.
Midnight is
So-
with which one?
He doesn't have that anywhere.
Oh, it's done.
That show's done.
So I'm gonna just refer to both NBC and the AMC. So AMC, which is the Talking Dead with him, has not completely stopped the show. They put a pause on it, I believe.
They have a show called The Talking. So
Yeah.
it's not even Talking Dead. It's he brings Donald Glover was supposed to be the guest for this first episode this season, and they didn't show it. So it's just he just brings in guests. It's like a podcast, but it's a TV show.
But
for
they haven't technically stopped the
that
program.
cancel that show.
Yeah, they've just only put a pause on it until they can verify the allegations.
Okay.
Same thing with NBC. NBC, because the show of The Wall, I believe, is supposed to start airing or show, like, maybe start taping in September.
Mhm.
They're in a position where they're able to not say anything yet
Mhm.
and wait until what happens with the actual allegations
Mm.
where they can make a decision. So right now, I mean, you can
Everything's on
technically say
hold.
it's on hold.
Except for the Comic-Con and the festival.
Yeah, because that's right soon.
Yeah.
When it comes to the shows, I think they did a really good decision, because this is allegations,
Mhm.
and this is like a fine line walking. Like, I don't want to make the victim feel any less like, they shouldn't have said anything, or that they are wrong, or or anything like that. But I don't know both stories, and these are just allegations at this point.
At the end of her allegations, which she lists, she says she has several forms of proof
Mhm.
to back it up, and several people close to her have also verified.
Yeah.
Whether in a court, this isn't in a court area, or
Mhm.
in an area of law, but that she spoke out. I just want to add that about the allegation side of it. Yeah.
I don't specifically with Chris Hardwick. He hasn't been like a giant influence in my growing up or anything like that. Like, I don't I'm not like, oh man, he did this for me, or he because he created this, I've always enjoyed this or whatever. But I in a sense admire what he had done. He built Nerdist. He built the reputation that he has now. And this is something that usually is kind of pops up whenever like stuff like this happens, is allegations versus already just assuming that this is true. Like, this is a life ruining career or like thing if it is true.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's true, like,
it's already ruined a life.
well, that's the thing. Like, if it's true, F him. Like, fuck that shit. Like, he should get what he deserves. But if it's not true, and these allegations turn out to be not true, it's already harmed him and will harm him for the rest of his life.
Mhm.
And like, there's nothing that can be done. Like, at this point, like, if this is not true, if it's true, again, I'm saying, like, good for him.
It just
good
continues,
for what's happening. Yeah. But I don't know the truth. I don't know what to say. I don't know whether to believe Chloe
it's
or
perception.
Yeah. And so it's tough. Like,
it's a tough spot. Yeah.
The victim has to say this for it to become the limelight. But then now there's this view of this person that he's just a bad person in general.
I mean, it goes. I think back. I mean, we had an in-depth conversation of like, can you separate an individual and their personal actions with their work?
Mm-hmm.
And like, if like Bill Cosby, and we talked about Kevin Spacey when those were happening on a prior episode, and I thought we like touched on a lot of interesting things. I think back to those thoughts a lot of whenever, because it's happened many times since then. I look at like for me, what his podcast was his main source that I took in from the Hardwick.
Which is the talking or
No, it's just the
He has a
Nerdist.
Nerdist
It's now he's changed.
ID10T.
Yeah. And it's more or less the same, but he's separated from Nerdist before this happened. And from that, I took away, like, the main positive things I took out of that were spotlights on, like, people that are creators. I learned through that successful creators tend to just be the people that are like, I should do this, and they did it. Like, all they did was just follow through. They weren't the best at it or anything. They just started doing what they said to do, whereas other people just stopped doing it. Yeah. They did a podcast for 72 episodes.
Then became famous immediately after.
But like seeing that, and I learned to admire those individuals. So he put a spotlight on those people, and I don't think that this diminishes that for me. No, like I still value those lessons I've learned. I do think it highlights other lessons. Like for me, I feel bad if it's true, I feel horrible for the relationship they were in, because I knew someone very close many years ago that went through a very similar thing of like an abusive relationship, and it's not as straightforward as I'm just gonna leave you. Like I know it's you look at it, it's like you have a choice. Why don't you just leave? But it's like everyone's chemistry is different. People can like take advantage of how your personality is. Maybe you're more passive, or maybe you're very easily swayed, or however the relationships are, or maybe you have an anxiety or something that they prey on, or the other person could prey on, and you hope for the best out of a person to like not to respect you and to treat you like an equal, but not every case is like that. So it's very likely that just as easily could have happened, versus also her taking advantage of a situation. It's hard. I definitely don't want to like I can't imagine, because she was saying in the allegations like she was blacklisted and it ruined her opportunities for careers.
Once that broken up, like
he was like him and another individual close to them made it through great lengths to make sure she couldn't get work. And I'm like, fuck.
And this within like
that for me was one of the big parts. So I'm like, if again these allegations are accurate, that is a very impactful thing outside of like your emotion.
For me is also for like for these victims in the entertainment industry, this is like a reoccurring thing. Like you become blacklisted, like you no longer
just
get
these social circles, the inner circles.
And like, similar to like victims from Weinstein, they were like, I was threatened with being blacklisted, and that's career breaking because I'm already in this thing, So that's crazy stuff.
Yeah, and so I think I learned a lesson in that. Like, I want to raise awareness, like use this story as an opportunity to raise awareness for like, don't put up with shitty relationships. Like that should be something that a takeaway we as like people that are just seeing this, rather than like casting judgment on our level. I feel like the studios are going to handle it. The people involved should handle it. Public perception will obviously change, just even if it's not true. But I think I'm just going to take out of it like, all right, whatever happens to him happens to him. That's for them to decide. It's a personal squabble that's put on like a spotlight. But like to me, I want people to have healthy relationships, whether it's friends or your significant other. Like there should be less of those shitty sort of things. Yeah. Like regardless of like if this is true or if it's not true, like someone out there has had a relationship like this, and that sucks.
So you're saying more love, especially to the furries. I said that.
You can't say no. You just can't say no.
They can love in their neck of the woods,
just not near me.
Just keep it to themselves.
What do you?
Dude.
What are your thoughts?
So I didn't know. I thought his shows were canceled.
The current statement I'm reading. When you were talking about it, I was looking into it.
This is specifically for talking.
So I'll talk about first AMC, and then I'll talk about.
If I said his shows were canceled, I was like, "Damn, that's pretty messed up." Just from allegations.
So I know his moderations are canceled.
Yes.
AMC has cut the network's decision. Okay, we have a positive working relationship with Hardwick for many years. We take the troubling allegations that surfaced yesterday very seriously. While we assess the situation, talking with Chris Hardwick will not air on AMC. Chris has decided to step aside from moderating planned AMC and BBC America panels at Comic-Con. And that's all I'm seeing for the AMC one. And for the NBC one, they said these allegations took us by surprise. We've had a positive relationship with him. However, we take allegations of misconduct very seriously. Production of the wall does not begin until September. In the meantime, we will continue to assess the situation and take appropriate actions.
So no official cancellation, from my understanding.
But Comic-Con panels are. I think it's
it's early. It's like it's gonna happen
in
soon.
a month.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, it's a live area, so like you're gonna get like people that could be volatile.
Yeah.
Either which way.
Mm-hmm.
So sorry, going back to
yeah. So if it's on hold, then it's okay. I thought his shows were like canceled, and I was like, that's
the
pretty
thing
messed
is
up.
like obviously like if it's not true, he is not blacklisted, but this is going to harm his career for the rest of his life. This is on there, like people are like, oh, that was the guy who got who got these allegations against him, regardless of whether it's true or not. That's what he's
some of it, like
some
of the general things she said about him were like he's very business focused, and that innately has some like personality things to it, where it's like everything you're thinking about is going to go into what you're working on.
So, just the way that I like kind of like this news hit me is I was seeing people referring her and saying like, holy shit, I just read this story from like my best friend, from a really good friend, from this person I admire, but yet it wasn't linking the story. I couldn't find it. And then finally there was someone who was like, if you haven't read this from my friend, read this now. And it was a link directly to the Medium.
Yeah.
And I didn't read the whole thing. I read like the first paragraph, which indicates like you start reading like, oh, she's talking about
she goes through like the whole series of
and
like
I stopped from that. I was like, this is it's gonna be a big read.
Well, there is one part that her mother like attested to, and it was. Did you read it?
Have you? Oh, well, this is. I'll talk.
Okay.
About it later.
Yeah. No. Talk over it.
Have you met them before? Both Chris Hardwick and I've actually met both of them.
At PAX when I went, she was going down the escalator in cosplay, and I was going up, and I'm like, I know her. Because the main thing I know her from is they had a cosplay photo of BioShock Infinite.
I've seen them, haven't met them.
The facade. I mean, if they seem like a happy couple. Like when I met them, I was like, oh shit, they're good chemistry.
Yeah,
but
it could have been all a facade. I mean,
yeah. I mean, they're at the end, like they're in the spotlight, so they're putting on like smiles all the time. What I was gonna say was, so in a lot of what she said, one of them was she was hospitalized for, I forget which it was. She was either
she's like losing her hair and
she was starving herself, like she was going through a lot of
anorexia,
and she was in the hospital, and it affected her menstrual cycle.
And
then her mother was there, and Hardwick was there, and the doctor's like, she's gonna be okay. And Hardwick said something along the line. I forget what he exactly said, but it was something regarding like, when, like, is she okay for us to have sex? Like, I want to have, like, I want to be able, like, that's important to me. And then the mom was like, are you fucking, like, in her presence, was like, are you fucking kidding me? So I feel like I feel like some parts of it, I don't know how much of the whole thing, but I feel like certain parts of, like, it's gonna be hard to like not see.
It's so detailed, which is crazy, and it makes
it's very detailed. Yeah.
Like,
God. So I'm assuming you read the whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm mad at that.
It just, she goes through a lot of it. She's like, she's got into the relationship. There was initial, like, they had ground rules, and like he's like, you're not allowed to see other guys. You're not allowed to go out past certain times. You're not allowed to drink. You're not allowed to, like, a lot of rules. And she agreed to them. And then they went through, and it sucked, obviously. And then there was other parts where he like started like passive aggressively throwing jabs at her and doing all these things, and like keeping the image. And then he would go and do things, and then it just like, and then she's like, okay, then we broke up, and then I went through a lot of hard times and all this stuff. And that's one of the things I think escalated. And she goes through a detail of like all that timeline and where she's at now, and then what she needed. She just needed to get this off of her chest in a safe space. And she didn't share it. I think because she had so many close friends that wanted to support her, they shared it, and that's how it seems like what you heard it from.
I was talking to Vargas before we were driving here. Dude, listening to his podcast, I could see him like that, but at the same time, I could see him not like that. I'm very like split.
I could very easily see him like one of the ones I listened to was him and Gary Oldman. And he's talking to him about like Gary Oldman had a very close relationship with David Bowie. They were really good friends. And you hear Gary Oldman starting to tear up. And the way Hardwick was like pressing him, and this is again perception. At the time, I told this story to a friend, and it stayed the same, like it's consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Was he just kept pushing him for like if you're going through a hard time with like a friend that's very close to you passing away, and you know that moment is coming for that friend, and I was like, but how, like I want a juicy, like I'm like inching for a juicy scoop from you about that. And I'm like, man, he's in a spot right now, like give him a sec. Like that sort of stuff like rubbed me the wrong way.
So,
whereas other conversations like with Keanu or with like Seth MacFarlane, I'm like, all right, they're having fun. They're just
But so before these allegations, seeing that through Chris Hardwick, I would see it as like this is someone who's like done a lot of hosting.
Yeah.
And it's like that thing where it's like I want there to be more to this so that it's more interesting for everyone in general. I don't know how I would have taken it listening before this, but now it's like, yeah, you have this idea of him, and you're like, he's abusive generally in general. You know, like he's doesn't care about those emotions, and he's pushing you for just better content for his own thing. You know, kind of thing.
The thing in the article that it does seem true, where she's like, oh yeah, he just loves being around celebrities. He just like wants to be a celebrity. I'm just like, whoa, like. I could kind of see that, like
that, yeah.
It's like, holy shit.
I mean, you look at what, like, I told you about my positive experience.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure he's had a positive influence on many people, making it cool, like, okay and positive to be a nerd or be a geek or whatever.
Didn't you say that someone, like, backed him up and was like, there's no
Adam
way he does
Carolla
this?
backed him up, saying he's the kindest soul. Like, there's no way that... And Will Wheaton is supposed to tweet something. He hasn't tweeted it yet.
He's like a best buddy of his. So I'm like, if anyone knew anything,
but
I'm sure he probably
He's also someone I saw share Chloe's story. He was like, I can't believe this happened to a friend of mine.
So it's crazy. It's like...
But he should have known.
You never know. Like, some people keep their relation... Like,
that's the thing. Again, like, with Adam Carolla and Chris Hardwick, like, Adam is, like, going out in the limelight, in the spotlight, and being like, there's no way this is possible. But the thing is, like, there's things people do that's out of the spotlight, out of any kind of view of the cameras that you might never know about, you know, until stuff like this happens where it gets out because, you know, someone finally had either the courage or it got leaked out or whatever to say something like this. So the thing is, like, I can't say for sure. Regardless of me, I've never knew him personally, so I can't even say, you know. But I feel like there's even people I know personally where it's like I don't know what happens in the background, you know?
Yeah,
like, I have coworkers where, like, dude's, like,
you hear
hardcore Christian,
like,
but I could easily also believe that he
like, for
beats
example,
his wife, you know?
Korosh is an underground furry, but, you know, the exterior is showing
He's not
the opposite.
I mean, you're making comments about my body hair is insulting.
Right? And we've never seen the side of him before,
Watch,
you know?
I'll go to a furry convention, I see Korosh. What the
You won't know it's him. He's in
That's true. That's true.
This is bullying, and this is like abuse. And I'm going on the record now of speaking out about this. But I mean, like, you gotta be brave. Sometimes you gotta like watch Stranger Things season 2 in secret, and then like hide that, bottle it up, and then.
I've only seen episode 1. I've seen the whole season. I've seen more My Hero Academia. That's the other thing. Is that
we didn't talk about? Let's go back to what you've been up to.
I'm like halfway through season 2. I've seen all season 1. It's only on 3rd season right now.
I heard it's good. That's one that's always recommended.
I watched the first episode. It was way too monologue-y, but the second episode was better.
Yeah.
I just don't like it when they cry every 5 seconds.
I know.
Like Attack on Titan, everyone talks about how amazing the show is. Everyone's crying, like, and monologuing.
You should read Berserk.
Yeah.
I mean, just watch that video.
I would love to continue talking about this. I feel like we need to just steer back though to more serious stuff.
I thought we were done with that.
I don't know. Like, I don't want to go from like that serious note to like just.
So
like,
final thoughts then. What do you guys think?
Again, like
the correct measures were taken.
Yeah, I feel
by
like
the companies.
Yeah, so I feel like I don't know if this is how you phrase the question, but the way I took it from like the text that we always text about for our topics, I think ultimately I feel like the studios took the correct, and then for the more recent stuff, I feel like that's also the correct step is either a hiatus or if it's too soon from the allegations, like you do have to cancel things out because you don't know what's gonna happen now. You don't know if someone's just gonna be like, I was Cleo's best friend, or like I feel like I was Cleo's best friend. I don't fucking actually know her, and I go attack Chris Hardwick because he's moderating this panel that you know I can get close to him or whatever. So I feel like these steps were right, but when it comes to like stuff like this, it's a tough like thing to walk, like if it's true, if it's not true, and stuff like that. So
I think this is not the studios. I think people on the internet are just drawing sides way too quick and without even getting the whole picture.
It's always going to be like that, which is why it's such a tough thing to go through.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the people on the internet need to like
chill.
Not chill, but don't draw a side. Yeah, too soon.
Well, they got their pitchforks like ready to go on any
ready to go. I thought they already threw them. You know, it was like read their first letter and they start throwing the pitchforks.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. You're right on that.
It's a tough situation.
I think people that are in situations that are like that shouldn't be afraid to speak up.
Yeah.
I think the studios are handling it, in my opinion. I agree.
I think
they're handling it fair. I mean, if I were to take this like in a regular like office environment, if a coworker of mine like went to HR and reported it, that HR would then speak to that person and take, I feel like, the appropriate measures, and then you handle it. I feel like this is that on a spotlight.
Yeah.
So you got public opinion, you got all this stuff.
The thing is, like, I do feel like I'm being biased, though, because I do feel like I have a better connection to Chris than I do, like, Weinstein. So, like, regardless of whether Weinstein's were like, just allegations or whether they were true, I might mean it that I was like, fuck that dude. Like, I didn't know him, I didn't care. So, like, whether they were true or not, I was like, I don't care about that dude.
I don't know, but with Weinstein, so many people are saying it. It's like, damn, like
even with the first few, I was immediately like, oh, fuck that dude. But with Chris, it's like now I'm just like, I don't know what's right or wrong, you know, kind of thing. And I'm not, like, I don't want to say like it's right that he did it, because if he did it, that's the wrong part.
Right.
There are allegations, and I don't know who's right or who's wrong, kind of thing. So yeah, that's why I'm like, I feel bad that I'm biased on this, you know, and I
because you're familiar with it, and that's always tough with these. Like if you grew up watching movies about or watching, you know, someone close that you knew in this public spotlight, and then you find out something like this about them. Yeah, I'm sure it'd be difficult to disassociate their work from their personal lives, and that's part of the world. Not everyone's as clear cut as they may seem, or sometimes they are. You never know.
All right. So now that we're done with this topic, we can talk about Berserk.
I wanted to talk about. I saw Annihilation, and that shit was Last of Us meets like Death Stranding to me.
But you read the book,
the first book, and it's somewhat like it. But visually, it was beautiful. Like I love the visuals.
Have you watched Arrival?
Arrival, yeah.
Which one do you like more?
I think Arrival is more cohesive. I think Annihilation is more weird. Like what I was saying earlier, it was like, I like this. This is kind of like different. I'm not 100% like, this is fucking the best. Like, I know some people were like, this is the best movie of the year. Other people are like, this is utter shit. I'm more of like, I had a different time. That was a cool experience. It was good.
With me, Annihilation does a really good job of explaining things, but I still feel like it's overlooked. I guess when it comes to the ending, I feel like it did a good job of. So the reason why these, it's hard to explain it. It's hard to explain without ruining.
Whoa! I'm trying to read the book.
Crazy
I'll never get to
happen. Crazy things happen, and throughout the time being in the
setting
Annihilation, it makes sense why these things are happening. I'm still not satisfied, though.
Did you read all 3 books?
I read the first one, which is the only one this is based on.
Okay.
And I've heard it takes a lot of departures from the book.
So there could be a part 2 and part 3 of this.
The director said before he started the movie, after he finished the movie, after all the results, he never plans on doing a sequel. He just wanted to make one movie. Yeah. And just tell that story.
This is perfect.
And I read a Reddit comment about allegories and metaphors of the movie, and that gave me perspective to the movie. I feel like the way that person described it and what it could mean potentially was a really cool interpretation, and like if I watched it again, I could appreciate some of those aspects. I can tell you later, but
yeah,
it was really that additive level to it, and I like when movies have that where it's like it's open. This felt like a very artistic, funky movie, and it was open to interpretations. Yeah. So that was fun. I Redboxed it. So.
Nice. So you spent like $3 because you didn't return it the first day?
I did return. I returned it the next day. I was like, I'm not making that mistake again.
I hate. That's the only thing. That's what I loved about Blockbuster had. Kind of like a Netflix type thing back when like there was actual physical DVDs, and same thing with Netflix. Like you get a DVD, you keep it as long as you want, and
you can't get a new one until you return it.
just can't get a new one until you return it, so that's fine.
You got 3
but
of them,
Redbox
right?
is now like every day you have it, it's an extra $1.
Boom.
And then, a year, $360 is what you just spend.
So while you're looking for that Redbox, where can people find you?
They can find me at Redbox 360, the Fulio 365 on Instagram, and the Fulio on all other social media.
Griffith did nothing wrong. You can find me at The Last Bosses.
You can find me at Cujo Prime. You can find us all at the Weekly DLC. Thanks for joining us on one of our summer episodes.
Yeah.
Until next time, we'll
enjoy your burrito. Oh, sorry. We will DLC
you later.
Got him.